What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Pouring Coffee. My name is Pete Fakaizen, and I'm here with Nick Clark. And we have a special guest this week on Pouring Coffee, and that is Angie Stevenson. What's up, Angie?
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Hey, hey,
Morning.
hey. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for
So,
having
week number 2 here of our podcast. Thought week 1 was pretty good, and for all of you out there, pouring coffee is really a intro for you into real estate, mortgage, and everything kind of happening today. Within that world, the adage of pouring coffee is making stuff happen. And as your resident real estate mortgage pros here, we're here to give you kind of that info of the week. Hopefully, this will be your focus point of the week where you can listen in, understand a little bit about the market, maybe get a few takeaways from our special guests, and learn a little bit more about Nick and I. So, anyways, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Angie Stevenson. She is a real estate agent here in Massachusetts on the South Shore, based in Hingham. Angie, what's happening?
Not much, just taking this fall market day by day.
That's right. That's right. So usually we start the show with the weekend recap. How was the buyer flow and how was the listing flow this weekend for the areas that you are covering?
Yep. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Angie Stevenson. I am a real estate agent and I run a small team at Compass based in Hingham. So we and my team sell from, I would say, Quincy to Plymouth. My emphasis is closer to Hingham. And this weekend we saw a combination of some houses with a lot of activity and multiple offers. And maybe not people going as crazy over as they would have in the beginning of 2022 through like late spring 2022. And then we also saw some people get cold feet, change their mind. That's another thing that's just a reality of some buyers right now. As far as listings, I am getting those phone calls. I did take 2 new listings last week that I'm going to be bringing to market because what I'm hearing from the seller is, we know what we're dealing with now, and maybe we aren't sure about later this year, but gosh, we've been waiting and we've been watching, and there's just no time like the present. So we're just going to give it a shot, especially while we still have the beautiful weather here and, leaves on trees and green lawns and houses are looking great. I love a fall market, and I love to kind of talk through fall buyers, fall sellers versus spring and the seasonality in the business. But yeah, this weekend, we saw some things happening, and we have definitely noticed that some buyers are out. There are some people for whom it just became untenable with rates. And then there's some who've shifted into new price points, changed their expectations. And then there's some sidelined buyers who got beat up for the first 2 quarters of this year, 3 quarters of this year. And now they can buy because they feel like they finally have a tiny bit of leverage.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, it was odd. I mean, first of all, it was, Columbus weekend / Indigenous People weekend, which, I think both people, everybody was celebrating an extra day off, no matter what day it was. We saw a huge buyer uptick this weekend, which was kind of crazy given it was a pseudo holiday. School was out on Monday, and Nick got multiple deals under agreement. So did I. We still have offers kind of flying today. So, I think that kind of message out there that I've been seeing from a lot of the real estate community is, there are options for buyers. Number one, to get into properties through special programs, which is our product of the week we'll talk about later. But, there are options to get your rate low to kind of bridge you to that, satisfactory below 5% interest rate environment where, we've been there for a long time. And, the supply that we've seen actually in the marketplace is really good because this is a good time to buy. If you look at charts year over year, when is the best time to buy, or when is the best time to actually get a deal where it's, not the psyche of, okay, I've got to list my home in the spring, Angie, to make the most money.
Right.
Or I've got to buy a home because that's when there's going to be the most inventory. I really think that, well, I do know, not think, but Nick and I put together, a chart showing, hey, if I were to make an offer on a $500,000 property today, but it was in last spring, we'd probably be paying 600 grand for that property.
Oh, correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
Whereas today, a $500,000 property might go at 500,000.
90. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you compare that $500,000 deal that you paid 600 for, and you put 20% down, that 480 mortgage versus 20% down on 500 versus 400 $1,000 mortgage, even with an interest rate, of, let's say, 3.5 versus 6%, you're still saving money longer term on the, buying a house today than you did
Right.
in the spring.
Right.
So, it's scary to me for the, folks that bought a few years ago. I mean, bought within the last few years. It's kind of, I'd say one thing that we saw is there was so much equity. Like we rarely, I mean, Nick, like the first time home buyer hasn't like really been around the last couple of years. Right?
Nope.
Like the 5% down people, like people are coming out of the woodwork right now. I think for us, like we're working on a deal right now. It's just qualification, Angie. It's like, how do we get the seller to work with us to give a little credit back to buy down their rate, right? And that's something we're going to talk about later. But good news is, stuff, inventory's there, and I'm going to say it over and over and over again. And I hear other people saying the opposite, but you never want to rent over buying. Okay, you always want, if you own a property,
100%.
you're investing, right?
Yep,
If you're renting a property, that's a bridge. That's a bridge to nowhere because you're just paying my mortgage for me as an investor. So
you're going to be in real estate from maybe 30 to 90 years old, right?
Yep.
And there's going to be different markets. There's going to be different properties. You're going to have different needs along the way. But this isn't a one and done thing. So it is. So there's always a way to jump on that bottom rung of the ladder and just get started. And right now, you're definitely going to have an advantage over renting. I mean, the rents have really gone up too.
Yeah. Rents are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. We've had multiple clients not be able to get rentals in the town that they live in, with kids and schooling and this and that. So, well, that's awesome. Well, Angie, thank you for introducing yourself and kind of going through where you cover. So now we're going to hit you with a few questions that we want to learn more about the marketplace. And so, all right. So, what makes Hingham so special on the South Shore? Why did you guys choose to move there with your family? And why is it such a great spot for you to do business in?
That's a great question. Hingham is really special. I've been here about 12 years now. I'm originally a South Shore girl. I grew up in Kingston, Massachusetts, and I lived in a few other towns on the South Shore as well. It's really a destination. It's a known place now. And it has, the community itself is beautiful. There's some of the best examples of, traditional endemic New England architecture. It's one of the most beautiful communities in the country. If you like that, our main street is known for the gorgeous homes that are there. From
Captain's houses. Captain's. Exactly. As a kid going to Hull, we drive right down Main Street, coming in, and it was just like, going down to Hull. As a kid, I remember going, wow, look at these houses. And my dad used to say, Captain's homes, Pete.
Yep. I have one under agreement on Lincoln Street in the Lincoln Historic District from the early 1700s. And then we have beautiful, homes from every area up to the Victorian era. Like we see a lot of in Hull too. So it's just a very pretty town. It's a big town, 22,000 people. This is really something for everyone. People come here for our schools. They come here for all of the amenities for people of all ages, but certainly for families and kids. You could never run out of things to do. There's a lot of conservation land. We have World's End, which is a gorgeous place to take a walk out into Boston Harbor. And we also have Wampatuck State Park, Turkey Hill. So the outdoor amenities here are fabulous. And then of course the water. So you can live a very busy, active, sort of bustling lifestyle with very easy access to Boston for work, or if you're working from home, that's changed a little bit, but it's there by ferry or train. Being able to take that ferry to the financial district is unbelievable and really, really special. But at the end of the day, we offer everything that some of these really desirable suburbs offer, but we're on the water. So it's a big sailing town, boating town, kayaking, or just enjoying the views, just taking a walk. And then we've also got some really great restaurants, shops. It's a fun place to live. I feel very, very fortunate that we're able to be here and our kids are growing up here. It's been awesome.
Sounds good. Yeah, Hingham's a great spot. Nick, isn't the boat one of your favorite things?
Yeah.
Well, the bar on the boat.
Yeah, the bar
on the way
boat,
back.
right?
I mean, makes a
Hop
commute
on the boat,
more
go to
bearable.
Boston.
I'd rather sit on that than commuter rail.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. When we first opened the Compass office here on the South Shore, this was almost 5 years ago now, we did a couple of like pop-up boat bar takeovers. Mm-hmm. And so we all boarded the boat, the handful of agents started the office, and then all the drinks were on us. It was so much fun. And the MBTA people were actually kind of cool to work with. They made it easy for us, but it's such a good vibe. It's very festive and fun. The views are great. It's a quick ride. It's something that really makes our town stand out.
Awesome. Sounds good. So, with the housing market, I think last week said that the luxury market in New York City was down 26%. Mm-hmm. I really, I had somebody actually at Compass last week run some numbers for me at headquarters in Boston on, just the Boston condo market. And, the interesting thing was, you guys are down, right, as realtors, and so are we. We're down business-wise, but it's not due to price. It's due to units.
Correct.
Right? And I thought that was very, very interesting to find out that, when you see numbers and headlines, folks out there on CNBC, Fox Business, the real talk and stuff like that, and you're looking at real estate trends, you really have to look at the numbers when it comes to pricing, not the number of units on the market sometimes, because when we looked at, year over year, where are we? Yeah, we're down 26% in Boston from a condo sales perspective, but the pricing is even, right? So the pricing month over month really hasn't come down that much in that marketplace. Now, when we look at the South Shore in general, what would you say, from a selling standpoint, if I wanted to list my home in, the Hingham marketplace, what would you say to someone today in regards to, how is that inventory looking? How do you position yourself? And I'm basically asking you this question because I do my research before these shows. Yep. And I saw one of your reels on why, don't be afraid of this marketplace. So explain that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I think we have to just be smart about pricing and, price with the market, work with your agent on a price that's grounded in actual data. The houses that are, if you're a seller, if your house is in good condition and it's move-in ready and it's priced realistically, it's going to move, and it's going to move quickly because we still are in a very low inventory environment. Right. Hingham has 42 active listings right now. It's crept up a little bit, and I feel like the trends kind of land here first and then they'll work their way south, where you might see a little bit stronger competition in Scituate and Marshfield and Duxbury. Hingham, it seemed to stack up a little faster. We saw price breaks first. We saw home sale contingencies come back first. But right, I think there's three things that sellers need to think about. It's the actual product itself. What are you selling? What are the attributes of your property? Is there anything you can do to improve it? I mean, people still want houses that are pretty much move-in ready. The bulk of the buyers out there right now are busy. They're working hard to pay these high prices for these homes. The average buyer is not looking for a fixer-upper. They're they're out there. But if your house is move-in ready and the product is good, if the positioning is right, it's being marketed properly, you still need to have beautiful photography, good marketing, and we're going to see more marketing return as homes are on the market for several weeks as opposed to going in the first 48 hours. You got to make sure your agent is on point with that strategy to carry you through 3 or 4 weekends instead of just one, right? And it's pricing. And those are the levers you can move. There's only three factors outside of obviously the general economic factors. It's the actual product, it's the presentation, the marketing, the product, and it's the pricing. If the marketing's on point, the product's on point, and it's not moving, then maybe you have a pricing issue and you need to talk to your agent about how to get real. Yep. So it all sells, right? It's just dependent.
It just matters what price it's going to be when it sells,
Exactly.
right? I mean, we just had a client that they've been on the market for 3 weeks. They went with a different agent than one that was recommended. And, it is what it is, but they had listed and they're under agreement for $125,000 lower. And they're under agreement. They're moving up. They're getting another great house. But, we're back at the price where, they're 50 grand lower than where they were told to price the house at because it needed to be updated. It hadn't been really that, but they didn't take the advice of some people that maybe they should have kind of, looked at it because the longer things sit, the smarter the buyers get. Right. So, and they're like, we've got, we have many buyers that we are running numbers for that are like, nope, I'm not doing it.
They're saying no for the first time. That's a huge trend. And guess what, sellers? You need to be prepared that you are going to see post-home inspection requests. They are back, period. And get ready for your bluff to be called if you say no, no, no. We're going to see buyers and sellers like this over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And some sellers are going to have whiplash. When it's like, you didn't want to replace this or that. Guess what? They're out because they're questioning, hey, is there a chance that I could get this house for less money a few weeks from now? Right. So
a deal. Yeah.
So you want to work together. We all
a deal
work together.
Right. And I think a deal with other factors too, like we're seeing, negotiations like you were just talking about on inspections. We're seeing negotiations on price after even that. People just having buyer's remorse. I read I think it was last Friday that the amount of deals that have fallen apart are almost equal to the amount of deals that are coming together.
Right.
So let me ask you this, because this is something that, Nick and I have seen a trend over the last, let's say 5 months, but we have inspired our buyers and have really given a lot of agents that we know a lot of good advice because many agents don't know about putting in a backup offer. Right. So, if you really love a house, why wouldn't you want to put in a backup offer? Is there any reason why? Because it's like some of the agents like, oh, I've never done that. I mean, if you love the house and you got outbid, but you still want to make a run at it, like, why not put a backup offer in? I mean, is that a bad thing to do?
I don't know.
Tie you down? It doesn't tie you down because you're not under agreement, right?
And you can withdraw it at any point. No, I don't see it as a bad thing because we are going to see, look, we're getting back to just some normal real estate practices like home inspection, negotiating, second showings, counter offers, maybe some issues with financing. So why not? You as a seller, it's in your best interest to have somebody in the background. It gives you a little bit of leverage too. If buyer number 1 is acting up, you can say, well, I do have a backup on buyer number 2. It might help you a little bit. If you decide playing a little bit more hardball with your agent is the move, but why not? Things happen. This is real life. Things change for all different reasons, right? I did have a listing a couple of weeks ago where we got 4 offers. Buyer number 1 walked, and buyer 3 ended up being the one who got it. But 2 and 3 were competing with each other because they stayed in touch with me with backup offers and they stayed in the mix. So they still got over asking, even though buyer 1 walked. It's always good to have options in life, right? That's my.
And putting on your listing agent hat. I mean, are we starting to see? I mean, we've seen a couple people actually. So we've got inspections that are being contingencies. We've
Mhm.
got we have a few under agreement with home sale contingencies, which
Yes.
I'm baffled about.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
so home
And
sale contingency. So I would say the biggest thing out there right now is if you're a buyer and you have one of these situations, we've had a lot of home sale contingencies on offers this week get accepted.
Mhm.
Okay.
I've had a
Don't,
couple
don't
too.
yeah, don't be afraid. And also, when you're going out to market your home, if part of the plan is, hey, listen, you do have to sell before you buy, you know, but there's some sort of contingency where, you never know what that other buyer, if you're listing your home,
Mhm.
situation is until you know it.
Right.
Or until you ask, hey, listen, we just had a situation this week where we've got a client that's got a kid in high school and they don't want to move before May. So they want to close in February and rent back for 90 days. The one thing I want to tell everyone here is we do give exceptions, okay? Written permission to people, if like
More than
you
60?
if you need more than 60 days to move into another home, okay, and it makes sense.
No.
We can't just, not bring it up, but we bring it up and we get the exception up front saying, hey, we're going to move, we're going to sell our home, but my kid's in school until this date, so we're going to rent back for a little bit. Is that okay? Right?
Yep.
I
Yeah,
think
this
it's
is
really
America.
important. We don't commit fraud. We're upfront on every single deal. And I think it's better to be upfront about things and talk about it than just being told, oh, no, you can't do this, or no, you can't do that. So, and by the way, you don't know what that other buyer as a seller, you don't know what that other buyer situation is. Maybe they're a relo and they don't care and they're in a rental until June anyways. So they don't care, but they'll close on the house and let you rent back. Right.
And
So
that's where having a good agent really gives you an advantage, because they should be asking those questions and speaking to the buyer's agent and really finding out and asking why. And this is the market to try. This is the market to try what works best for you, what might get you the house. Whereas, months ago, buyers were saying, and they're still saying a little bit like, can I offer less than full price? Can I do a home inspection? Can I try a home sale contingency? The answer is yes. Give it a shot. Absolutely.
yeah.
I've seen contingencies come back recently, and I just closed a sale with a home sale contingency last week, and we were impacted by the hurricane down in Florida. The buyer had to sell in Florida. There was some delays on the lending side, but everybody worked together and we got through it. In my
Yep.
experience, if the buyer really wants to buy the house and the seller really wants to sell the house, there's usually a way, if you have people working together and asking the right questions and being a little bit of creative in their problem solving to get it done.
And
Awesome.
and Angie, correct me if I'm wrong, having that local kind of agents who specialize in certain areas they're in, rather than, oh, my cousin is a agent out in Worcester, he's going to represent me in this. Can you talk to how most of the agents you're going to be working with? It's the same with loan officers knowing,
Totally. Having a local team is smart. Listen, if I'm representing a seller, my job is to get the best deal for the seller. And that might come from that agent from out of the market, right? And sometimes that's okay. But if I know them, if I'm presenting offers to a seller, if I know the other agents, I've had a good experience with them, we work well together. And if I know the loan officer, I am sharing that information with the seller. That's a big piece of what they're paying for that you may not think about. But if I have a proven track record, like with you guys or other partners out there, agents out there, that it's going to go smoothly, that I can give my client a lot of assurance. Attorney too. So if you're thinking about becoming a buyer, it would really be in your best interest to find someone who specializes in the local area, who's obviously full-time, not a friends and family agent who's doing business like with strangers, right? It's a real business. And a local loan officer is going to give you an advantage in getting the deal done. Maybe it would even help you get the house for a little bit less, because that agent can say to the seller, I know it's going to go smoothly. Look, maybe it's not your number, but I can assure you these guys are going to get you to the closing table. Whereas before in the spring, it was like, having a local lender would help you get the house in multiple offers.
Mhm.
If it's something completely random, that was a disadvantage. So yeah, can't emphasize it enough. If the team approach is the way to go, and you're going to have a better outcome if you've got your team in place.
Don't you wish that we had like a real-time probability like calculator?
Yes.
So you could say the probability of you closing with this lender and this real estate agent is X. You know why I say that? Because on my little pseudo kind of day off on Monday, which was not a day off because we were busy, but later in the day, I kind of turned off the phone a little bit, and I was watching a movie with my wife and one of my sons, and it was Along Came Polly. And I haven't seen that movie with Ben Stiller in a long time, and he works for that insurance. He works for that insurance company, and he's got the probability indicator for like his relationship and for insurance reasons to insure people. Imagine if we had that like for real estate, like a probability meter of things happening. Probably make it much easier for the seller to make decisions. But anyways, we depend on local people to become our probability meter, and that's really important, everybody. So, all right, well, we got a really good download of that Hingham Marketplace. So let's learn a couple quick fun things about you, Angie. You ready for these hardcore questions?
All right, I'm ready.
All right. So what was one of the funniest scenarios or transactions you have done, and why? Or what is one thing that you've witnessed that you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy in real estate? Like, I've heard some doozies, by the way.
There have been so many. And once I'm retired, and this, I think most agents would say this, once I'm retired, I can really let you know, because confidentiality is one of our fiduciary responsibilities. But there are so many things that have made me laugh. Like, you can't make it up. I've definitely dealt with animals like dead possums, picking up dead possum at a walkthrough, picking up a dead bird in my hand before a showing and throwing it to the side, picking up dead mice, finding a dog in the basement, which was actually really sad and a little scary. I guess I would do categories. There's like animal encounters, and then there's like weird things left at walkthroughs.
An agent told us the other day at a meeting we went to, she went in and there was three guns. There was guns. She's like, she called the seller and it was like, hey, I just found this blanket, like
rifles,
with like three like old school, like hunting rifles or whatever.
I have found those. A lot of people leave their weed. You find that all the time.
Yep. That's a good find though for some people.
A freezer filled to the brim, jam-packed with frozen bags of shrimp dumplings. That was a weird one.
Oh, well, that could be a good one too.
We recently found a closet full of wigs that was left behind. There's just funny stuff. So I would say it's like animal encounters, weird things you find. Sometimes there's a young adult man that doesn't have anywhere to go that you find in a room when you're showing a house. It's usually like a kid playing video games in the dark.
Yep.
That happens a lot. I had one thing I will say is like 1-800-GOT-JUNK is my best friend. Like, they are there. My accountant was like, why did you spend so much money on 1-800-GOT-JUNK? They just make all these problems go away, because you just find weird stuff.
Right.
Obviously, there's all the funny people situations, but there's funny stuff situations too. So I actually had GOT-JUNK could not solve this. Last December, I had a seller leave a boat, like a huge sailboat. And we had to do a holdback. When the attorney holds back money.
So did they not want the boat?
It out. They didn't want it, and they weren't getting it out. It was like, what are we going to do? So I think we held $5,000 back till they got it out. But it went on for weeks. Like, we had to get rid of the boat.
Huh.
Yeah,
I've gotten a couple. I've gotten a couple. What's it called? Random things from open houses when I worked in house for a real estate company and did their mortgages. People would be like, "Hey, Pete, do you want a piano? Do you want a cat? Do you want these cool plants?" And I'd be like, whoa. And it was really the realtor just trying to get rid of the stuff, wanted me, because I'm a bigger guy, they wanted me to go move it for them. Basically.
People don't want your stuff. They do not want your stuff. They do not want your old baskets. They don't want the trash bucket in the bathroom. They don't want your stuff.
Yeah, unless they marked it and they do want it and the seller takes it. I've seen that too.
Oh yeah,
which has not been cool. All right. So if you were alone in your car and you just wanted to crank music, what would be the song that you would sing out loud in your car?
So there are so many. This is something that I do all the time, always have. If you see me driving around, I'm probably going to be singing in the car. And when I find like a banger that I love, I will listen to it over and over and over and over and over, like 12 times in a row.
And then your kids complain that you keep playing the same song
Mommy, why do you play
over
this
and over?
words? Yeah. So I'm a big music person. I make playlists. When I have one I love, I throw it on this playlist on Spotify I have called Ultimate Supreme. It's like my top songs. But I feel like if I just need to run through a wall, I would put on like Enter Sandman by Metallica or something.
Wow. Wow. Nick, that was the last song I thought I'd hear from Angie Stevenson.
Last fall, I was really into that Kate Bush song, Running Up That Hill, which is just like a weird 80s song. And then all of a sudden people were like, why are you into this? I'm like, I don't know. I just like it. I've always liked it. And then it was in Stranger Things. And then next thing I know, it's like on Kiss 108 and all over TikTok. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. It's in commercials now everywhere. It's
it's everywhere. Yeah, no, that's a big thing for me. Like if I need to get the energy up or change the mood sometimes in between showings, you get a little kind of tired and kind of burn out. So I will just pick a song and get myself pumped back up again.
Well, I'll tell you what, just a real quick thing on music real quick. We were in the car this morning at the bright early time of 6 a.m. driving my kids to Derby Street to get the bus to go to school. And long story short, we were listening to the radio and we heard that, I think his name's Sam Hunt.
Yep.
Stand By Me, that song. I think that's the name of it.
Yep.
Sam Smith.
Yeah, Sam Smith. Sorry, Sam Smith. Sam Smith.
That's a good song.
Tom Petty's estate just sued Sam Smith and won because if you think about that song,
I Won't Back Down. Do they think it's like I Won't Back Down?
Tom Petty's team won, and it's Won't Back Down. Like
I guess
the background. Yeah, I guess the background with music of it sounds exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you start thinking about it, and then so of course my son who plays piano and sings, he's just like, oh my gosh. He's like, Dad, now I got another song I can add to my list because he plays the other one on piano and sings it. But yeah, I mean, I've heard that song, that Sam Smith song, like no less than 500 times in my car with my son. So.
They're both great songs, but I'm a big Tom Petty fan. Both great songs.
So we are going to show everybody Angie's contact information here. So Angie Stevenson, you can reach her on her cell, 774-269-9560, or you can shoot her an email at angela.stevenson, STEVENSON, @compass.com. You could hit her up on Insta at Angela Stevenson _real estate. But yeah, hey, thank you so much for coming today. We really, really appreciate it. And yeah, we're hoping we'll be able to get you some business and do some business here with you shortly.
One last question for Angie.
Yes.
If there's one thing that you either learned the hard way or wish you learned way earlier on doing real estate, what is that? And like, how did you come about it?
Oh, yes. It's not for the lone wolf type. A lot of people get into real estate because they're like, I'm so independent and I can work at my own pace and I'm self-motivated. But in reality, it's a relationship business. It's in relationships with other agents, with lenders, with attorneys, with other agents matter so much, especially as we get into a market like we're entering now. So that was something that I didn't understand, but when I got it, everything really started to click. So for sure.
Awesome. Sounds good. So again, I'm going to show the contact information here. Angie Stevenson, give her a ring. Everything South Shore. Thank you so much for coming. Really, really appreciate it.
You guys are great. And there's nothing I would rather do than talk about real estate. So
awesome. So that's Angie Stevenson, everybody. So we are going to get into real quick our product of the week. So with the buyer temperature, pretty hot out there, Nick, one thing that we've been educating, and Angie, thanks for staying here, is that, really there are options to get you into a lower rate, plain and simple. And one of the most creative ways that we've had that, I'm going to roll back to some of my 20 years here in this business. About 12 years ago, basically when 2010, 2012, that timeline right after the kind of, rate crisis happened, then we had products, and one of them was called a buy down. So the buy downs are back. So the way that a buy down works is that we have the ability as a lender, or the seller has the ability to give the buyer a sum of money that over the first either 2 or 3 years of that mortgage term will buy down the rate temporarily. So the cost on average, Nick, a little over 2 points.
Yep.
So if you're buying a $500,000 home, you're looking between $10,000 and $11,000 for that. Now, the great thing is, as a buyer, you're not paying that. The seller is, or me as a lender is paying that for you. The other great thing is that those funds go into an escrow account. So in 12 months, if rates drop down to 4%, and you're like, hey, I want to refi, which we'll be the first person to call you to do that. When we refinance you, you get that money back, whatever's left in that escrow account. So it's a win-win. And just as an example, what does a 2-1 buy down look like? If today's rate, let's say, is 6% on a 30-year fixed for your purchase, in year 1, your rate would be 4%. In year 2, your rate would be 5%. And then in year 3, for the rest of that 30-year fixed mortgage, so for the 27 additional years, your rate will be that 6% if you don't refi. But again, this really helps savings. In that example I just talked about, in year 1, you're saving $718 a month. In year 2, you're saving $372 a month. So the ability to save out of the gate, a couple things. Again, it's limited to, if you're a builder out there, by the way, builder can give the credit, a seller can give a credit, or the lender can give that credit. But we have that with loan amounts all the way up to $775,000 today. We do actually have a few jumbo products in certain counties as well in Massachusetts and other states that we can offer it. But it's a really quick, easy way. If you're not into an ARM, okay, an adjustable rate mortgage, which we've been selling. Angie, we were talking about this pre-show about, I don't know, Nick, 80% of the loans we're writing today, maybe even higher.
Yeah.
We've been writing, ARM. So adjustable rate mortgages are another great way to kind of bridge you to that 12 to 18 month timeline where we think inflation will start going down. And once that happens, rates will go down. Mm-hmm. So, getting a rate in the high 4s or low 5s is a really good deal these days. Mm-hmm. So, in August, Nick, I've got some ARMs that are still ready to close right now at 4 1/4, 4 1/8, mm-hmm. Right? So again, if you were the lucky ones to lock in, then good for you. But hey, listen, we're all about the plan, and you got to think of your home as, well, it's most likely your greatest asset out there. So if it's your greatest asset, like, you got to think of it like a financial plan, like you would your 401k or, stock savings or some sort of investment that you have out there. You've got to think of this as a plan. It's not just, I'm going to get a 30-year fixed and I'm going to keep that rate for all 30 years, right? It's not like a car loan, right? So we've seen a lot of people actually refinance car loans, refinance student loans. Your home, we can do the same thing, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, over the last 4 years, we've done thousands of refis. Like, can't even tell you how many we've done. And a lot of them have been with no closing costs. And folks, I'm not talking about rolling costs in. I'm talking about we actually pay the cost for you. Okay. Now that's going to be state dependent. Okay. Some states actually charge a tax for refinancing, but in most states they don't. So, remember, when you refinance, the cost of actually closing is a lot lower than when you purchase, because there's not as many insurances you need. The attorney fees / title fees are lower. And some of our fees are, adjusted lower as well. So anyways, the buy down is our product of the week. And, again, with our buyer temperature actually getting very hot this week, I'd say we had more engagements over the last 2 weeks than we had in the previous 2 weeks prior to that, leading up to kind of end of September, mid-September. So, we feel like this market's going to catch on fire with inventory in there. Hey, I think we're in for a good few months here to end the year and make it a good fourth quarter. And really, if you're a lender out there, a buyer, a seller, or a real estate agent, we hope you tune into this weekly so we can give you this great information. Again, I want to thank Angie Stevenson for joining us here. And I'm going to just pop in our quick disclaimer. We're an equal housing opportunity lender. All loans are subject to underwriting approval. Certain restrictions may apply for anything that we said. Call for details. Cross Country Mortgage LLC, NMLS number 3029. You can go to nmlsconsumeraccess.org to learn about us, or www.crosscountrymortgage.com. My NMLS is 12344. It's not a great number. And then Nick's is NMLS number 998103, because he hasn't been in the business as long. So anyways, that's a wrap for us today. Thank you so much, Angie. Appreciate you. Nick, as always, see you in about 2 minutes.
Yep.
Talk to y'all soon. Thank you.